Mondays through Fridays, 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. in the newsroom. You can't afford to miss it.
Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Newsroom on OSBC Television. Oluwatoyin Yusuf is my name. One of the past leaders of Nigeria, which nobody can write off and who cannot be forgotten in a hurry, is the living Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. The man is not always in the news, but when it comes around, it's just like the saying that when America coughs, other countries will catch cold. So when Chief Olusegun Obasanjo talks, he catches the attention of journalists on whatever platform. So very recently, he and some 2-3 other heavyweight Nigerians, particularly 2 former past leaders and a former Chief Security Officer, General retired Gusau, visited the 50-bedroom mansion of Nigeria's former military president, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida retired. So people were asking questions. What is this affinity between Obasanjo and Babangida? What on earth could bring the two together? Besides the fact that they both served in the Nigerian army and one was the senior of the other. Clearly, Obasanjo was the senior of Babangida. When Obasanjo was the head of state at General, Babangida was part of the SMC, the Supreme Military Council, as a colonel. So that is the focus of our discussion today on In the Newsroom. Oluwatoyin Yusuf is my name again, and I have Kayode Adebayo.
It's a pleasure being in the newsroom today.
I have the pleasure hosting you and Babatunde Bolatito.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm happy to be back in the newsroom.
Thank you, you most welcome. So, Kayode, look at that. People are still asking questions. What is this sudden affinity between Babangida and Obasanjo? At least for a number of years, nobody has seen the two together. But someone was quick to say, hey, don't forget, it is this military government of Babangida who rushed to get Obasanjo out of the prison and to ensure that he eventually became Nigeria's president on the return of democracy in 1990.
That was Abdulsalam Abubakar. Not even Babangida.
That was, yes, Abdulsalam Abubakar. But Babangida was the first set of retired head of state to quickly visit Obasanjo, at his Sotafam in Ogun State, and ensure that, he became the president, apparently to placate with Yorubas for what the military, allegedly did to our own MKO. So Abiola, beyond that, how could you bring the two together?
You see, the thing is that for so many years, Babangida and Obasanjo have never seen each other, talk less of visiting each other in their different mansions. You recall that and when Babangida was the head of state, the load of criticisms heaped on his administration by Obasanjo. In fact, Obasanjo happened to be the foremost critic of Babangida's
and subsequent governments through his letters.
Subsequent governments. Now, if the 2 or the 3 of them now decide to meet behind closed doors and discuss certain things, it is not difficult to understand that maybe the part being told by the present administration has started affecting their personal interest. That is the way I look at it. Because what they discussed was kept within themselves, and they said they refused to speak to the press. They met behind closed doors, discussed certain things, took some decisions without making it known to the public. So you understand that whatever they might have discussed has to do with their personal interest, not things that are related to the interest of the whole Nigerians. That's the way I look at it.
Tunde?
See, coming together of the two military giants.
3 of them, I think Abdulsalam Abubakar too was there.
Yes,
General Gusau too was there.
Gusau
was there.
Don't forget the spirit of esprit de corps
in the military.
And that will always keep them together. And besides, I wouldn't agree that well, the ordinary man would benefit from whatever they may have discussed there, if and only if it is
in the interest of the country.
and if it is in the interest of the country. But be that as it may, Obasanjo this time around may have changed his style of writing letters. He may decide not to write letter any longer. He may decide to do it through contacts with those who could speak to the president. Because Abdul Salam Abubakar happened to be the most junior there.
Yeah.
And he was head of state. And he handed over the reins of government to the civilians, which then happened to be Obasanjo. And Nigerians are already getting accustomed to the tenets of democracy. But as things are going on now, with the prevailing economic situation, Nigerians are already complaining. And there's no way it wouldn't affect them too. Because they have people on their payroll who may also be agitating for the minimum wage.
Okay.
And when that happens, you know, it will affect their own finances negatively. There's no way we can do it. So it is always good for them to cry out when the ovation is loudest. They should be able to say something now. And the only way to say something is to, you see, when in the military, the military believe more in action than words. And that is what they are trying to do by avoiding the press. Because speaking to journalists may preempt their action. And what action are they going to take? Speaking to the president, or sending delegation to him, or writing letter? At this time, it's not going to be an individual letter by Obasanjo. But I believe what they are doing, if it affects them personally, and they want to address it jointly, then we will all come and enjoy whatever is the outcome in the future. Because I know once the economy of the country gets back to normal, it is for the benefit of everybody.
All right, thank you. Now something seems to have come out from the visit. You know, 1, 2, or 3 newspapers have it at, you know, the front pages that Obasanjo says it is Nigerian politicians, not politics, that are dirty. And that is the basement for this, you know, discussion.
Okay.
Yes, he said it that in Nigeria, not Nigeria's politics, but Nigerian politicians are dirty.
Yeah.
Now, the question now comes up. Where does Baba lie? A politician or a retired soldier?
Let me just come in there. If Obasanjo is referring to some people as politicians and excluding himself from, I mean, among those politicians
that are dirty,
is being economical with the truth. Because when I remember when he was the president, he was the one that made do or die affair electoral process and institution in this country.
That was in 2007.
Yes,
yeah.
He said it openly at campaign that this election for me is do or die affair, and that means he has stamped the do or die affair aspect of our electoral process.
And it continues
it continues to affect us up to today. If Obasanjo is now saying that politicians are dirty, not the politics that is dirty, but the politicians are dirty, he himself is among the dirty politicians we have in this country.
You agree with that?
Well, Obasanjo, as I know him, during his military days, was a very taciturn officer. He had it up because of this situation surrounding him there. He was being watched. The likes of Shehu Musa Yar'Adua, Ibrahim Babangida, Muhammadu Buhari, and the likes of Duru Ajayi, Joseph Garba,
Theophilus Danjuma,
those who actually, you see, Obasanjo has never been a trusted officer within the army.
Within the army, yes.
Because when the Dimkan coup occurred, what Danjuma was after was, did Obasanjo play any role in this? And when they knew he didn't play any role in it,
how can we make him the head of state?
that was why he was, in fact, he has already reached his retirement letter, going voluntary retirement, before he was forced to be head of state. And that seat, he was not assertive, because the man who was there was assertive, and he was a no-nonsense officer.
That's Murtala Mohammed.
Murtala Mohammed, who had a supersonic speed when it comes to implementing policies.
Yes.
But Obasanjo was slow because he was only a nominal head of state. So the opportunity to show himself to Nigerians now came during the civilian regime.
I'm a bit confused. Was Murtala Mohammed a deputy to Obasanjo?
No.
Murtala Mohammed was head of state.
Was
but
head
when
of
he was
state.
killed, in that
Obasanjo took over.
Obasanjo was became a reluctant leader. He actually didn't want to. So some people met, they went to him. He was actually weeping when they announced to him that he was the
head of state.
So now that Obasanjo had the opportunity of asserting himself as president, he was an admixture of a military man and a civilian. The constitution made him a civilian, but Obasanjo within himself remained a military man. Now, how do you now reconcile the two and reconcile the two?
So now to now be saying that Nigerian
So for him
politicians
to now
are
say
dirty,
that Nigerian politics is not dirty,
but the politicians
and
are.
the politician, excluding himself, is not good.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly what I was saying.
Excluding himself is not good. But that time he was a civilian. Now that he has left office, he now see himself as a retired military man, a former head of state, and not a former president.
You see, all these
There are
problems.
times when he will talk as a former president. There are others when he will talk as a former head of state. You know, the two are different. So it is now difficult for anybody to differentiate between Obasanjo, the head of state, and Obasanjo, the former president.
Yes, I too want to disagree with you. It is not difficult for Nigerians to differentiate between the two. It could be difficult for Obasanjo himself not to be able to tell who am I as a Nigerian.
Maybe that.
But because sorry, Kayode, you pointed out something, that who is that person who institutionalized do or die in politics?
He is
Obasanjo. We knew what happened in Ibadan between Baba Adejibu, Rashid Ladoja, and the late Alawa Akala,
Yes.
removing one, putting one.
Yes.
No, that's not the only
Substituting
one.
one for the other.
So then what happened in Ekiti State?
Ekiti,
Yes.
with Fayose.
Yes.
And then in the state where Ojuzo Kalu also grew, I think Imo,
No,
Abia.
If you look at the underpinnings of how Oyinola was out of office, because Oyinola was against the third time agenda. Obasanjo wanted the third time.
Yes.
It was obvious.
You see,
Why is it now excluding himself from
politicians?
From Nigerian politicians.
The third time agenda
you see,
that was truncated.
the nature of our political process then and now, Obasanjo cannot be counted out of all the
Or be seen as a saint.
as a saint.
No,
Cannot
no,
be seen as
no.
a saint. You see, Obasanjo pursued third-time agenda, and in the process, he ended up allocating humongous amount of money to the National Assembly.
Yes.
And that money they are still collecting
They are
up till
still
now, and
collecting.
that alone affected or impacted negatively
on
the nation's economy.
That's
We are
it.
shouting today about the cost of governance. The cost of governance became astronomically increased during
Obasanjo's regime.
He instituted corruption in our politics. Because we knew how he bribed the National Assembly members.
Because of the fact
Because
And
of the long-term agenda.
those who stood against his ambition,
they were dealt with.
Seriously.
One after the other.
One after the other.
Kalu
Yes.
lost power now. Fayose lost power then. Who is this man in Badon? Ladoja.
Besides
Even
that,
our own
even let us go to the
so
National Assembly.
bad.
Between 1999 and 2007, we had about 5 for 4 Senate presidents.
Yes.
Yes.
You removed one, you replaced.
Yes. In
You
fact,
substituted. The
what-
moment a Senate
Yes.
president
Yes.
decided to go the other way, he got removed.
the only difference between Obasanjo and Basharuga in that area was the name.
Yes.
Basharuga will install this one today and remove him tomorrow.
and replace.
Replace.
That's it. So
That's
that
allowed.
was what happened in the National Assembly, where we had
Senate president.
repeated
Yes,
removal of Senate presidents.
yes.
At will.
At will.
Chupa Okadibo, Ken Onamani,
Yeah.
Adam Foswa
Ken Namani.
Barbara.
The only one who survived was Pius and Impious.
Pius, yes.
That is it. Now, even within the political party, PDP again, you know how many PDP national chairman we had?
Yes.
Removing one, replacing. Removing one, replacing.
So-
And you are not saying that the politicians are dirty.
So what is dirty in Nigerian politicians that is not in Obasanjo?
Whatever the nature of our politics today, whether dirty or clean, Obasanjo had
He had
He
a
had a name.
he had not only a hand, he had so many things into it. Because he was the one that masterminded all this rubbish we are witnessing today. Have we been able to wriggle out of the political mess we are in?
You see,
So, what are we
Obasanjo-
now talking about?
Obasanjo himself, when he was military head of state, it was like a puppet of the North. So, and the election of Shehu Shagari, I read a book where General J.J. Oduleye said it was investigated who Obasanjo voted for during the presidential election. And that affected the chance of Chief Obafemi Awolowo from becoming president. And the reason is this. Obasanjo has been, he was never ambitious anyway to become head of state or become anything.
Fate always, smiled on him.
That's it. He has always been lucky. And when the opportunity came for him to install a Yoruba man as a president after himself, he didn't make use of it. Though that is by the way. But come to think of it, if Awolowo was able to become president that time, we wouldn't have a Nigeria of today. Because he would have laid a very solid foundation economically for a prosperous Nigeria. Nigeria would have evolved into a politically progressive and economically
Prosperous nation.
Because Nigerian leaders are always not prepared. The only one that seemed to be prepared was Obafemi Awolowo, who never had the opportunity. And that was why Ojukwu described him as the best president Nigeria never had.
Yes, and in line with what you are saying, it is the same Obasanjo. We also read I said apparently against Awolowo that, the best candidate might not win this election.
Yes.
And during MKO Abiola's struggle too, he said Abiola was not the Messiah Nigerians needed at that time. And that is why for 8 years he refused to honor Chief MKO Abiola, which a northerner eventually came to do, recognizing Abiola.
The Abiola saga involving Obasanjo is a matter for history to judge. We all knew the larger than life image MK Abiola carried. during his lifetime. And the kind of policies he was emitting at the presidential debate, and all Nigerians were looking up to him that this is the man that will take Nigeria to the promised land. While people were planning to vote for Abiola, some people were planning another thing.
Exactly.
And among those who are coming up and planning another thing is the person who came out to say it's not the Messiah. Okay, he had the opportunity of being a Messiah the first time. He didn't become a Messiah. The second time he had the opportunity, he didn't become a Messiah. So why did he allow the man who was destined to be a Messiah not to be?
And if at all, the Chief Olusegun Obasanjo still wants to talk about Nigeria's election and all of that, we cannot forget in a hurry, even the election is supervised in 2007, which eventually brought in the late Musa Yar'Adua. Yes, the entire world knew that the election was marred with irregularities, and that was why the man who benefited from the election
came out to
say, I know that the process that produced me as president was flawed. So who supervised over the election? Who was the head of? Who was the president by then?
Yes.
So our chief now can now come out to say that Nigeria's politics is not dirty, but politicians are dirty. If politicians
to some extent,
if politicians are dirty, you cannot expect the politics not to be dirty.
Yeah.
To some extent, he may be correct.
If he himself agrees that
he is a man,
What is supposed to?
But because he did not say the right thing,
we politicians are dirty.
If he had used the right word, that is another thing. But because he did not use the right word, he was economical with the truth, like Sake said. Look, Obasanjo was as lucky as the history places him.
Yes. Again, you look at what the retired brigadier Alabi said about him in his book, Travesty of Tragedy of Victory.
Yeah, Tragedy of Victory.
Look at it. So many things about that is confirming what many people know about Obasanjo, particularly in the in the military.
Now let me add this. The closest man to Kaduna Zewu, the closest friend he ever had,
was Major Obasanjo by then.
They slept on the same bed before January 15. Zewu never told Obasanjo that the coup is happening.
Something was cooking.
Because as Major Wale Adimega described him, Obasanjo was colorless. One could not place him.
Exactly, you cannot.
And J.J. Oduleye also said he was the principal staff officer to the head of state, was put in charge of the Nigerian Civil War to supply this and that. And what Obasanjo used, if they are giving half of it to Benjamin Adeleke, the one who have ended a long time ago.
A long time, yes.
It will be more bloody, because Adeleke was a no-nonsense person. The officers who were planning were there. Obasanjo was just the GOC, but fate smiled on him. He was credited with the surrender of the Biafra. And that one became a leverage for him to now say this and this and become this and that. Now that he's aging, one should just consider what he said. The language is used. It may be correct, but the language is, it may be correct with what he has in mind.
Okay.
But the language he used.
It should have been we politicians.
Yes.
Instead of excluding himself.
So excluding himself is.
So to many Nigerians, the visit to the 50-bedroom mansion of Babangida in Minna was a strange one. Here is a man whom Obasanjo lampooned and criticized for 8 solid years. So to now quickly develop a sudden love for Babangida, you know, it caused to call for so many questions. Whether we like it or not. During Chief Obasanjo,
during the day when Murtala Muhammad was murdered, Babangida never trusted Obasanjo for work. In the book written by Major
No,
General,
it was Babangida who foiled the code eventually.
yes,
Foiled the code.
the coup was foiled by T.Y. Danjuma using Babangida.
Babangida, yes.
Yes.
And when Obasanjo showed lack of interest, Babangida was already making moves, contacting Joe Garba,
Joseph Garba.
that look, we planned the coup that brought in this government. The man we wanted as a leader is dead. Can't we take over? And you are the arrowhead. Joseph Garba now said, we will be abusing the spirit of fair play if Mohammed leaves and Joseph Garba comes in. I am a far junior to them, or we are far junior to them.
So that those the senior ones come.
So let's the senior ones have it. Then if Obasanjo refuses, then we can use James Odunaye.
A Yoruba man for that matter.
So that means they didn't want what happened previously to happen to them again.
So the criticism
on
about
the basis of
Obasanjo,
that Ojukwu hankered his action on the civil war.
Exactly.
so the criticism of Obasanjo against the government of Babangida may have come from the fact that Obasanjo knew Babangida did not want him as head of state. No, that is it. And no, Babangida is not a shy person. He's a very bold man. He doesn't know any other name for his spade. He calls a spade a spade. And that has been the hallmark of his military career. So Babangida will not, people call him Maradona, but if he does not play diplomacy with Nigerians, you know what can happen.
Okay.
You understand the cycle of Nigerians.
That brings us to the curtain on today's edition of the Newsroom on OSBC television. Yes, by and large, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo is a Nigerian and has the inalienable right to speak his mind about events in Nigeria. He has that right as long as that right does not impinge on the rights
of all of us.
So he has the right.
He has the right.
And the president or the presidency
Even
has listened to him.
Yes, under the fundamental human
right law, he has the right. Thank you so very much. Oluwatoyin Yusuf is my name. Thank you, Kayode Adebayo.
Thank you, Tony.
And Babatunde Bolatito.
Thank you very much.
Join us tomorrow, 3:30, for another edition of the program in the Newsroom. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day. Good afternoon.
Mondays through Fridays, 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. In the Newsroom, you can't afford to miss it.
Alóyinlo òhùndé wálé agbẹ́dẹ́gbẹ́ ọ̀rẹ́ o. Sílẹ̀ bàbá wọn ká tán délẹ̀ o. Mi ò ní lọ síbi kan bàbá wọn ká tán délẹ̀ ládùnkẹ́ wọ́dé sí i. Èwo ni kó ló bá torí mo fẹ́ fọ́mọ yín. Èwo ni ti wàrà tó fi sá torí mo fẹ́ fọ́mọ yín. Wọ́n bí mi mo túra bí èmi gangan lábí sọ́lá mo bọ́lá bí mo jí bọ́lá mo fẹ́ sọ̀kọ̀ bọ́lá ti tó. Sílẹ̀ màá bá wọn ká tán délẹ̀. Kó ló bá eléré ò dá o.